Hi there everybody, it's Zan from fellandfair, and after about a 4-year break, we are back on YouTube trying to give you some long-form, informative information when it comes to building your own medieval fantasy LARP Ren Fair kits. So the first one we're starting is our classic with the Ranger kit. So here's how you build it. When you're building a Ranger kit, what you want to start with is the basics, things like tunics and pants. This may seem simple and obvious, but this can really impact the life of a Ranger. Remember, a Ranger is running around in the woods, they're sweating in this. This is athletic gear for a Ranger. So using quality materials like linen that breathe really well when you're out in the wild really matters. Also the cut. Remember, if you're going to be a Ranger, you want to invoke that Ranger imagery. So think of the classic looks like Aragorn or Faramir, and look at like the longer kind of flowy garments that they have with their longer tunics and coats and that sort of thing, and that's going to give you that iconic Ranger look. In addition to those sort of things, you're going to want to think about color. Are you trying to blend into the forest, into a rocky mountainside, into the desert? So getting a nice muted color palette, and especially in your basics, is really going to matter. Once you have the basics down, the next thing is adding layers. Remember, this is a real life working warrior out in the forest. Survival is really key. So they're going to need multiple garments to keep them alive, especially in changing weather conditions, whether that be sun, rain, cold, heat. As you're building out your kit, you're going to want to think about the practical elements that are going to need to be worn by somebody in this sort of survival situation. So things like an overcoat, a cloak, that are going to add real practical elements. Remember, you don't want anything as a Ranger that is unnecessary. Also, as you're building these layers, think about what type of material you're using for them as well. Is this something light? Like if you're in the southeast here, I want a linen cloak because it is hot here. But if it is raining in the summer, I may want something like wax canvas. Or if it's winter, I may want wool. Now let's talk about footwear. Remember, Rangers are adventurers. They're in the wild. They're hiking up mountains. They're fording rivers. They need something that is going to really keep their feet safe and is going to get them from point A to point B. So a quality pair of boots is really important. One thing you want to think about too is you're running through brush. You're running through weeds, you're running through tall grass. So having tall boots is really helpful as opposed to having short boots. If you do have short boots, I highly recommend some sort of good leg wrap or puttee. If you have some sort of like greave or leg armor that you want to wear to help kind of cut through those thorns and the briars and that sort of thing, that's going to go a long way for you. But getting quality leather footwear that is comfortable, that you can wear all day long, is going to be very important for a Ranger. Now, if you're living and surviving in the wild, you have to carry gear with you. And if you're carrying gear with you, that means you have to have good belts. So being able to carry things like pouches that are going to have your essential, like easy, quick access items. Carry things like your good hunting knife or your sword, your bedroll, and your quiver. So having good quality leather is going to be not only good structurally, but it's also going to look really beautiful. Now, whether your Ranger is a forester or huntsman or somebody who's on a sort of combat mission like the Athelian Rangers, then you are going to need some weapons as a Ranger. Obviously, the first ones are the weapons of survival. So things like a good hunting knife. That's going to be a multi-purpose camp tool. Of course, you're going to want maybe a sword. If you know you're going to get into a fight, a sword is a really great weapon. Carrying a longbow and a quiver of arrows is going to really help you, not just in combat, but also for hunting and survival purposes. Now, I really like longbows. Not only is it classic and is evocative of Robin Hood and that sort of stuff, but it is also a very good multi-purpose, both for anti-personnel and for hunting. So Rangers really emphasize practicality. So you want to have good quality weapons, but you don't want to overload yourself with too many of them. Now, last of all, if your Ranger is a warrior type, not just somebody surviving in the wilderness, but somebody who knows they're going to get into a fight or into a scrape, a little bit of armor is really a nice final touch. You can see right here, I'm wearing these Ranger bracers. Not only do they look awesome, but they will give you a little bit of forearm protection, especially if you're in a fight. If you're going to add other items, you could add something like greaves and maybe some leather chest armor. I really like the scaled kind of lamellar because we actually do have some historical examples of that, and it allows for good mobility and flexibility. If you're in a LARP or something like that and there's armor points and that sort of thing, then there's definitely ways that you can add Ranger armor tastefully. A good coat of darkened chainmail is highly flexible, highly mobile. We see a great example of Aragorn at Helm's Deep. He throws his chainmail on between his tunic and his leather jerkin. He still has that cool Ranger look, but it adds that level of protection for him. Now, the final thing when it comes to making a Ranger kit, going back to practicality, is making it your own. So the little practical add-ons and elements that really fill out your kit You can see right here I have one of our ranger masks. It's really great, especially if you're on a dusty trail riding a horse, or if you need to maintain some degree of anonymity. I also have a little piece of linen right here on my belt. It was laying around the shop the other day. It was hot. I was working out back. I was sweating. I just wrapped it around my head to keep the sweat out of my eyes. A little strip of linen like that is a nice sweatband. It also hangs nicely on the belt here. Another little thing you can see I have here is my bedroll strap. Here I have one of our Northman Viking cloaks attached to our bedroll strap, and I use it as an additional cloak if it gets cold, or as a blanket at night to sleep in, or if it's really hot when you're sleeping, you just roll it up and you use it as a pillow. So it's those little extra tidbits that really not only increase the survivability of your character, but it makes it your own and it makes you stand out. All right, everyone, I hope this has been helpful. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. We'll also link our blog post that we wrote if you want all the details. We want to see kind of what you do in the world that you build. So tag us on Instagram at fellandfair and fellandfair.shop and show us what you're doing and as you're going on your adventures. Our goal with all of this, when we make this gear, when we go on our own adventures, is to inspire you guys to get out there in the great unknown, to wander in the wilderness, and don't just watch these heroes on a screen, don't just read about them, but go out and live some of these adventures yourself. So good luck, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you one day on the battlefield.